So, hello everybody, welcome to this Hatha flow class. Whether you're at home, Jess, Helena and Hayley, or whether you're here in the river room, you will need a chair for this class if you haven't got one already, set up in the way that I have here, probably with a blanket or something on it so that your legs can rest comfortably. And then once you have your chair, please come to arranging your legs on the chair in such a way that your knee crease comes right up against the edge of the seat. And preferably, I know it's not always possible because of dimensions, but preferably your thighs would be perpendicular. So you have a real sense of your thigh bones falling down into your hip sockets. So if you have really long legs, you might want to place something underneath your calves. Or if you've got shorter legs, you might want to place something under your back. And then take a little bit of time to settle in this very restorative position. You might want to adjust your back, your head, and your hands for now can be resting exactly where feels comfortable. And sometimes when we use a prop, like a chair today, it can take a little bit of time for the body to trust the prop. To allow yourself to really feel into the connection between your legs and the chair. Between the back of your pelvis and the floor. Nice and soft in your belly and your pelvic floor. Really feel your legs heavy now. And coming into sensations in your ribs, the back of your ribs against the floor, your shoulders gradually releasing towards the floor, and your head heavy. Really take your time to settle. This is also an opportunity for you to check in with how you are at the beginning of this practice. Physically, but also mentally and emotionally and energetically. Becoming aware of the simplicity of a natural breath, feeling where the breath moves you in your body. Where you feel it in your body. And we start today with a guided breathing practice, a restorative breathing practice. And then we bring our breath awareness that I hope we will have developed into a reasonably classical Hatha yoga sequence. But I'd like to underline the fact or the point that whatever poses we come into, whatever flowing sequences we come into, today it's the breath that is the focus of everything. So with all of this in mind, maybe set yourself an intention, a sankalpa for your practice. What might you really need to attend to in yourself? Will you, for example, really take care of yourself if some of the standing practice becomes more demanding than you're used to? Will you give yourself permission to keep coming back to the breath as the absolute central focus of everything we do? And then if it's comfortable for you, please place your hands on your lower belly, but it's in no way essential to do so. And possibly the tips of your middle fingers are touching. And as we come into this breathing practice, it can be helpful to imagine the whole of your torso as a barrel or maybe as a balloon. And I say this because sometimes we forget the dimensions of ourselves as we breathe. So every breath that comes in will take you out to the front of your body. It'll take you out to the back. It's really useful to be against the floor so you can feel the back of your body with the breath. And you will also expand and retreat in the left and the right sides of the body. So first of all, with this in mind, following a few breaths from the tip of your nose into your nostrils, to the back of your nose and sinus cavities, down into your throat, into your trachea, which then separates into two as the breath enters each lung. And then the exhalation will come out the same way it came in, usually. Become very sensitive and intimate with the subtleties of this natural breath. We're not trying to change anything. Noticing, for example, whether you prefer the inhalation or the exhalation. Whether you linger on one or the other, or you rush through one or the other. Whether the flow of breath into or out of the body is smooth, or whether you find it's a little bit obstructed in any way. What we're doing now is simply a blueprint for you to notice a natural breath. It's like a baseline. Staying very soft in your throat and inside your mouth. And now we are going to begin to direct the breath. So we're going to imagine the bottom third of our barrel or of our balloon. As with the next breath in, you draw the breath all the way down into the very bottom of your abdomen. You might feel it expand against your hands and then out again. And as you continue with this abdominal breathing, remembering these dimensions out to the front, out through the back, and into the left and right sides of the lower third of your torso. We're not trying to take a deeper breath, we're not straining, but we are directing the breath into one particular section of the lungs, the lower lobules. Now this already might be enough instruction to you, in which case carry on as you are or back off a bit. But if you don't mind adding a count, what might it be like to experiment with counting 1 to the front, 2 to the back, 3 and 4 to the left and right as you breathe in. And then as you breathe out, you start with 4, 3, 2, 1. Just see how that goes and drop it if it doesn't work for you. And then let that go, let go of the count, let go of the focus, and just come back to natural breathing. And then if you want to, you can slide your hands up so that each hand is pressing lightly into the side of the rib cage on either side. But only do this if you really feel relaxed in the upper arms and the shoulders. And if you do it, you might feel a gentle pressure where your hands press into the side of the ribs, not so much on the top of the ribs, but out to the sides. And taking a few breaths now that you direct into the rib cage, into the chest, remembering the front, the back, and the two sides. And feeling the rib cage retreat away, back in with your hands as you breathe out. Only if it works for you, adding that 1, 2, 3, 4 as you fill out in all dimensions. And 4, 3, 2, 1 as you breathe out. And of course, if you find it uncomfortable for any reason doing a breathing practice lying down, you can do this sitting. You can sit on your chair. And then let that go. Let the thoracic breathing go as you breathe naturally. And some of you will naturally have been abdominal breathers, and some of you will naturally be thoracic breathers, chest breathers. It doesn't matter, it's just what you notice. Only if it's comfortable, take your fingertips to your collarbones. And although we're going to bring the breath right into the very top section of the lungs, I'd like you to start this breath by coming into the chest first. So you fill out your chest, but leaving enough breath to, at the end, fill up the very top section of your lungs. So the experience is a little bit like sipping in breath right up to the top. You might have enough space to feel into the front, back, and sides of this top clavicular section of your torso and lungs. Only add a count if it works for you. Staying very soft in the throat and the face. And then please let that go and release your hands wherever they feel most at ease, and just take a few natural breaths, possibly noticing if there's any change in your natural breath compared to the baseline at the beginning. Now, with the next phase of this practice, there can sometimes be a temptation to strain the breath because you feel you've got to take the deepest breath possible. I'd much rather you didn't do that, because when we strain the breath, we strain our nervous system. It's counterproductive. But I'd like you to visualize your whole torso as a balloon or as a barrel. And slowly in your own time, you're going to come into a breath that first of all fills the bottom third, but the same breath fills the middle third, the chest, and then the last part of the breath comes right up to the top. So we're joining together the three sections of the breath. And you can pause at the top with the body full of breath, and then you slowly release, trying to be very steady and conscious. Some people like to visualize a balloon filling with water and then emptying. Only if this is available to you, count into the front, back, and sides of each section as you go. So you would end up with, I would count to 10 so that the top section only has 2 counts. So you remind yourself of all 4 directions. And what you're coming into now is known as Mahat Pranayam, the great yogic breath. Possibly you experience not necessarily a deeper, but a slower breath in and out, very conscious. Stay close to the breath, stay close to the count if that's what you're doing. And then please let that go. We have a final part of the practice, which is where we come into a square breath. So you're going to just continue breathing naturally as I explain the practice. And then you join in as and when you want to. So the reason I call it a square breath, or it's called a square breath, and you can visualize the square, is that we're going to equalize 4 sections of the breath. You might breathe in for, let's say, a count of 2, and you can visualize moving up the vertical of your square. But then you hold the breath in for 2. That's the top edge of the square. And then you slowly breathe out for 2 as you come down the vertical of your square. And you hold the exhalation out for 2 as you slide along the bottom of your square. Now, some people find this breath uncomfortable, especially the parts where we count the holding. And that's why I'm suggesting that you start with a count of 2. Bearing in mind everything we've done with the whole of the torso, the front, back, and sides. And adding to your count if that feels right, but keeping each edge of your square the same length of a count. Remember never to strain. And then gradually allowing all of that to drop away. So you return to noticing your natural breath, and if anything's changed in the way you feel physically, energetically, emotionally. And what I'm going to do is give you a couple of minutes, knowing that in a couple of minutes or 3 minutes, we're going to meet standing at the top of our mats. So you might want to roll around a bit, you might want to lie on one side. And if we have time, we will use our chairs right at the end of the class again. So just folding them up or just shifting them so they're somewhere nearby. It's a very profound practice we've just done, so try not to rush yourself out of it. There's no hurry. When you are eventually standing with your feet comfortably apart, your arms by your sides. And coming to a sense of your verticality and the support now through the soles of your feet rather than the back of your body. Aware of your breath. So we're going to bring a count into the breath now, but as we move quite simply to start with. So you're going to, when you're ready, I actually don't want to count you in because everyone's different, but you're going to lift your arms up on an inhale as you count to 4. And you pause at the top and then reverse the count. So you go 4, 3, 2, 1, but you find your own rhythm. And that's all I'd like you to do to begin with your own count. So what this enables, when we raise our arms, we facilitate the fuller breath into the chest. But what the counting enables is for you to consciously synchronize bodily movement with the breath. And this is so brilliant for your nervous system, as well as for your attention and focus. At some point, as you breathe out, you're going to open your mouth wide. You can breathe in with your mouth closed. And we're doing this to feel the rush, the rasp of air over the back of the throat as we slowly come into Ujjayi breath, ocean breath. See if you can continue that rasping as you breathe in, but with your mouth closed. And some of you more familiar with Ujjayi can breathe in and out with your mouth closed. With this feeling of the wind in the trees or the ocean filling your throat and your mouth. Take a few more rounds. If the Ujjayi irritates you in any way, drop that and just stay with the count. I'm taking one more full round. And this Ujjayi breath that we've been practicing is something that you might love to bring into the whole of the rest of your practice if and when you remember, or you might drop it altogether. It's a really great way of focusing and deepening into the physical postures as well as into the breath. Please meet me at the front of your minds. And we're moving now into Surya Namaskar A, Sun Salutation A, Ashtanga style. Anyone who gets tired, come down to cat-cow on all fours or rest in child. So there's the option of the practice today from now on to become much stronger. than what we've been doing. But I want everyone to look after yourselves, please. People, it's a very mixed ability class or mixed experience class. Arms by your side, Sun Salutations. On the breath in, remember the breath. Maybe you're still counting as you exhale and you swan dive down. You can bend your knees and then breathe into a flat back. We're taking this really slow. And then step or you jump, some of you, back to a plank. Take a breath in your plank. Exhale here, stay where you are. Take another breath in. And another breath out. If you can, you're counting. When you're ready, take another breath in. And then we all drop our knees as we exhale and we guide the front of the body to the mat during the length of the exhale. Inhaling, roll your shoulders around and back to peel up the chest. You don't have to come high. And then counting your way down again until your forehead comes to the mat. Curl your toes under, come to all fours, and come to a downward dog or a child's pose for 5 full breaths. And this is an opportunity to count in and count out. Please bend your knees if you need to. And stay very, very present with the breath, with the count, maybe with ujjayi. So in this style of yoga, it's the Sun Salutations which are doing the warm-up. Usually we would do a really long warm-up. And then looking forwards and stepping, or some of you might jump your feet in between your hands. And come to a breath in with a flat back. And breathe out, fold again. And it would be normal to have stiff hamstrings right now, tight legs. Push into your feet, breathe in, come all the way up. And breathe out, hands to the heart. And we go straight to the next one. We might go a bit faster. Is everyone okay with this? Breathing in. Breathing out. Fold. Come to your flat back, the full length of the breath, and either step or jump to plank. Just taking one full breath in here. And you can drop your knees, or some of you might like to slowly lower yourself straight as a stick all the way to the floor, your chin in, your elbows in towards the body. And then find your cobra with a breath in. And breathe out. Take it very soft if this is strong for you. Come to all fours. And then 5 breaths in and out, counting consciously in your downward dog. Gradually feeling the energy moving around your body. You can always rest if you need to. Beautiful. And then looking in between your hands, walk, step or jump your feet forwards and come straight to a flat back. Exhale, fold. Pressing into your feet, inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, hands to your heart. We do one more Surya Namaskar A. Breathing in, arms up. Breathing out, fold. Beautiful. Coming to a flat back with a breath in. And then step or jump your feet back. Taking a breath in, looking really good. And choose if you're going to drop your knees or you lower yourself. This time you might want to hover off the ground in Chaturanga Dandasana if you're feeling strong. And then you push yourself into upward dog, when only your hands and feet are pressing into the floor, not for everybody. And then either from your cobra or your upward dog, come back and breathe fully and expansively in your Adho Mukha Svanasana, your downward dog. Hopefully now with this third Surya Namaskar, you begin to feel warmer and more open in the body. Do relax the back of your necks. Wonderful. Looking forwards, walk, step or jump your feet to your hands. Inhale, excuse me, to a flat back. Exhale, fold. And then with a little bend in the knees, come all the way up, arms over your head. Exhaling, hands to your heart. Take a moment to notice how you feel. Before we come to Surya Namaskar B, so it's a variation of Sun Salutation, it can be quite strenuous. So you just, all of you today, just see how you're feeling. I wouldn't always do Surya Namaskar B. Arms by your sides. We're only going to do 1, 2. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, come into chair, Utkatasana, sit in your chair. Tuck your tailbone under, inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. As you breathe out, step or jump to plank. And from now on, I'm going to let you decide again how you come down to the mat. You've had 3 options. You find your back bend. And you come to downward dog. Now in downward dog, you take your left foot down at 45 degrees. So you're pressing into the heel. Look forwards and step your right foot outside your hand. You're preparing your lower body for Virabhadrasana 1. From the ground up, come up, warrior 1. Lovely, we don't stay here. We come straight down to plank. This is where it gets tiring. You can drop your knees if you want to. You lower yourself down. You find your back bend. Downward dog. Take the right foot down, so the heel is down, 45 degrees. Look forward, step your left foot outside your hand. And then from the ground up, lift into Virabhadrasana 1. Beautiful. From here, we find our plank or an all fours position. You might be at cat-cow right now, which will be fine. Choose your way down to the mat according to your energy. Choose your little back bend. And then push from your back bend back either to child or downward dog for 5 breaths. Now, the question is, are you with the breath? Are you overstraining, or are you listening to your body and resting as you need to? I overdid it completely this weekend with my physical yoga practice, and I've been paying the price ever since. It's just a lesson. Looking forwards between your hands. Walk, step, or jump your feet. And on a breath in, lift your chest. But then we sit back into chair, floating our arms up by our ears. Take a breath in, and on the breath out, push yourself up and out. Hands to your heart. So that's 1 round of Sun Salutation B, which gets the heart beating, doesn't it? Yeah. We're just going to do 1 more. If it's too much for you, come and rest. We'll come into cat-cow. Breathing in, arms up. And then sit back in your chair. So it's a very different style of yoga to what we've been doing the last few weeks. Take a breath in. Exhale, fold. Breathe into a flat back. And either step or jump to plank. And you choose how to come down to the mat. Please remember you can drop your knees if you need to. Come into a little back bend, and then your downward dog. So take the left foot down 45 degrees, step the right foot forwards. Don't come up until you really feel grounded through the lower body. Then lift up into your warrior one. Lovely. Come back to plank. Come down to the mat your way. Very good. Find your back bend. And we meet in downward dog with the right foot down at 45 degrees, stepping the left foot forwards. Coming into our final warrior one. And then we come down to plank from there. Choose your way down. Choose your back bend. And then it's 5 breaths, lovely and counted and focused, either in child or in downward dog. No hurry to get there. Everyone's doing this according to your own rhythm. And then looking forwards and walk, step or jump your feet in between your hands. Inhaling to consciously lift your chest. And as you exhale, sit back into chair, float your arms up by your ears. Take a breath in. And then exhale, push. And now you might want to close your eyes, take your hand, one hand to your chest, one hand to your belly. As you feel the effects of Sun Salutation A and B on top of a very profound breathing practice. And in a way, you've done a full class already, just doing all of that, but we'll do a little bit more. Okay. So as we now come into some standing postures, we've done a flow with the Sun Salutations. As we come into the standing postures, the invitation, and it will entirely depend on you, is that you hold each posture for 4 or 5 full breaths. Now, the problem with me saying that is everyone breathes differently, and I'll suddenly say, take your final breath, and you've only taken 2. Don't worry too much about it. I'm just much more concerned that you bring your attention into how the breath affects you in your posture. And counting the breath is a way of focusing. So we're going to start with Uttanasana, standing forward fold. So you could look down and make sure your feet are parallel, about hip distance apart. Take your hands to your hips. And take a full breath in. And as you breathe out, come down halfway. So you have a sense of the length of your spine. And just take a couple of breaths here and feel maybe that your sitting bones are separating a little. This is when you can decide if you need to bend your knees a little. Remembering that forward folding is about the tilt of the pelvis, and there's no point in straining your hamstrings. So let's take another breath in for length in the spine. And then as you breathe out, you fold completely. Now, some of you will have your hands on your shins. Some of you might be holding onto your big toes, pressing onto the toenails with your thumbs. And starting from now, begin to count your breaths. And noticing what happens as you count the exhale compared to when you count the inhale. Really relaxing the back of the neck. Relaxing the shoulders. Maybe some of you beginning to lift your sitting bones up and apart towards the ceiling. Fantastic, everyone. Take a full breath in and a long breath out. And then please place your hands on your hips. Bend your knees a little as you come up with a straight spine on the inhale. Exhale here. I'd like you to take your feet a little bit wider apart. And I'm going to be a little bit pedantic now about this part of the counting, because we're actually going to move again with the breath. Starting to lift the right arm, 2, 3, 4. And then begin to exhale as you slide over to the left. 3, 4. Inhaling as you rise. 2, 3, 4. Arm down. 2, 3, 4. Left arm. 2, 3, 4. Exhale to the right. 2, 3, 4. Maybe you're breathing Ujjayi. Lifting. 2, 3, 4. Left arm releases. 2, 3, 4. And can you continue now in your own time? Really conscious of the count, of the movement of the arm, and then the side of the body. Please do one more time on the right and the left side before we meet standing at the top of the mat. Wonderful. And bringing your feet closer together at the top of the mat when you're ready. You might want to brick for the following 2 or 3 poses. And taking a step back with your right foot like a stride. So your feet aren't as wide apart as they could be. And we start with them parallel. And then you're going to turn your right foot out. We're coming into Utthita Trikonasana, triangle pose. Just have a look down at your feet, and it'll depend entirely on the how wide your hips are. But see if your front heel is in line with the instep of the back foot. Most probably you're lining it up with the back heel. You don't want it kind of right over in front. And it's important in Utthita Trikonasana to hug the leg muscles to the bones. So please take your left hand to your hip and then begin to reach to the right, finding as much length in the right side body as possible. Reach, reach, reach. And then hinge when you're ready. Now, your right hand could come to your shin. It could come to a brick inside or outside the foot. Some of you might be holding onto your big toe. Just notice how the left hip might roll forwards a bit, and that's entirely fine. You might micro bend the right knee, especially if you've got any feeling of strain at all. And then begin to spin the chest to the left. You can look over your left shoulder. Your legs are working. Then you lift your left arm vertically if that feels good to you. And once you've got here and you feel stable, you feel spacious, then start to count the breath. So these poses, when we do these poses, we need to be really careful of our sacroiliac joints, where our sacrum meets our hips. So if you're feeling any strain at all, you back out of the pose. Please take a full breath in. This is looking excellent in here and at home. As you breathe out, look down. You're right, Helena. Bend into that front knee. And then just gently come up. Wonderful. Bring your feet to parallel. And we just slowly take it to the left. Take your brick if you're using a brick. Legs are working. Begin to reach out to the left. This lengthening of the side body that you've already prepared with those swaying palms that we did before. When you've come as far as feels right to you, hinge. Hand could be to the brick, could be to the shin, could be to your big toe. You could be micro-bending that front knee. When you feel stable through the legs, begin to spin the chest to the right. Looking over your right shoulder most probably. Lift the arm to vertical. When you've found your stability, then come into breathing and counting the breath, if that's right, and maybe Ujjayi is right too. Feel the breath in the body. Feel the breath shape your pose. That's really what we're looking at. Fantastic. Taking a full breath in. Exhale as you look down, bend into the front knee. Gently come up. Feet come to parallel first. Then you step to the front of your mat. Everyone okay? When I say something like feel the breath in the pose, does that translate to you? Okay. We're going to take Parivriti Trikonasana, which is twisted triangle. So I would take your left foot back and have your brick just outside your right foot. And this is where it's super important not to walk a tightrope. So in fact, I would take your feet almost mat distance apart. Otherwise, when you take your left foot behind you, if you're walking on a tightrope, it's going to be really hard to do anything. You want the stability. Really fire up your legs and lift up the left arm. So we're looking for length through the left side body. Inhale. And as you exhale, rotate to the right and come down halfway. Reach, reach, reach. Take another breath in because we want length in the spine. Then take your left hand down to the brick that's outside the right foot. And your right hand could be on your lower back. Now, just for now, bend into that front knee. And then maybe some of you will straighten it. And are you aware that there's a lot more weight pouring into the front foot than the back foot? Can you consciously take the weight into the back heel a little? And then begin to spin your chest to the right. Look over your right shoulder maybe. Only lift up the right arm if you feel completely stable. This is a strong pose. And then count your breath. Focus. And that it's vital that we find a way to, rather than strain, to practice with an effortless effort, which is paradoxical, but it's what we're looking for in all of this. Take a full breath in. As you breathe out, look down. Gently come up. Step your left foot forwards. So that is a pose that nowadays I absolutely adore, twisted triangle. It feels really accessible, full breath is really strong, but for years I couldn't get anywhere near it. Really, really couldn't. And I'm actually really impressed at everyone in the room and at home, but I used to just fall over. It's a lot of balance, a lot of strength. Now we take our right foot back. Range the feet. You're not walking a tightrope, lovely. So we're not, some of you have got a really big stance. It's more of just a step. As if you just walked. It's not all the way back. And then lifting up your right arm, find the length. Begin to rotate to the left. Come down halfway, reaching to the left. Take a breath in for length in the spine. Then you hinge and bring the right hand down, either to the leg to the brick or the floor. And notice how you can take the weight further back into that back heel, drawing the left hip back a little as well. And then begin to spin the chest. Look over your left shoulder, possibly lift your left arm, and then count a few breaths. Find your edge and stay within it rather than go beyond it. Breathe. Breathe sensation into the pose. Beautiful. Take a full breath in. Look down, bend into the front knee. Gently come up. Step your feet together. You just notice how these quite strong stamina building standing poses leave you feeling. Hopefully quite spacious. And then take a much bigger stride this time with the right foot. So you're facing the long end of your mat, feet are parallel. And then you take the right foot out. And this time the left foot comes in 45 degrees. And it's useful if your front heel aligns with the instep of your back foot. Lovely. Take a breath in, feel your torso lifting up and out of the pelvis. And then hinge into that front knee. And take your elbow to the knee. So we're coming into Asasna, side angle pose. Some of you will have your elbow on the knee. Some of you will bring your hand down to the floor, either straight to the floor or on a brick. Please really fire up your back leg. We're really getting into the hips in this pose. And then begin to spin your chest to the left. You're looking right over your left shoulder. And then if it's available, swing your left arm over until it's right close to your ear. And the little finger edge of your left hand is pointing towards the floor. And then see if you can find effortless effort here as you count your breaths. So this is very different from roly-poly Feldenkrais classes that I've been teaching recently. Much more traditional yoga, Hatha yoga. Take a full breath in. Look down, bring your left hand to your hip. Gently come up. And bring your Asasna to the other side. Left foot out, right foot in. Hinge into that front knee. Either elbow to the knee or hand to the floor. Just make sure that that front foot is straight. This will protect your knee. Fire up the back leg. And then begin to spin the chest to the right. Lovely, lovely Dawn. Maybe bring your right arm up and over. And as you reach through the right fingertips, press into the outside edge of your right foot and enjoy the breath in the body again. Take a full breath in, look down on the breath out, gently come up to standing, step your feet to 20 minutes. Noticing how you feel. Everyone doing okay? Yeah. And then with the right foot again, take a big stride. So now we face the long end of our mats for Prasarita Padottanasana, wide angle forward fold. I would try and have your heels out, your toes in a bit, and you can bend the knees a little bit to begin with anyway. Hands to your hips. Take a full breath in. And as you breathe out, come down halfway. Feel your sitting bones separating. You can straighten your knees if that's right for you. Lovely. Take another breath in for length. And keeping your hands to your hips, draw yourself as far down as is right for you. The top of your head reaching towards the floor. You can drop your hands if you want to, or you keep them to your hips. And now take your counted breaths, allowing the exhalations to really drop you deeper. Beautiful. Are you soft in the roof of your mouth and the back of your throat? Can you feel as you exhale that your navel draws back to the spine and maybe a little bit underneath your ribs? Draws you deeper. Maybe you feel a lift of your pelvic floor at the same time. Wonderful. Please bring your hands to your hips, bend slightly in the knees, and inhale, come halfway up. Exhale here. And then inhale, come all the way up. Exhale here. We're going to take one more variation of this pose. If you're able to, take your hands behind your back, interlacing them, or you might prefer just to take your hands to your lower back. Roll the shoulders up and back. So you really squeeze the shoulder blades together. Draw your arms behind you if you're doing this version. Take a breath and really open chest. And then again, we come down halfway, breathe out. Take another breath in for length. And then come all the way down, arms coming back over towards the floor. My hands just went into a candle flame. As you breathe. Stay very conscious, very present. Take one more full breath in and a long breath out. And then bend a little into your knees as you now come all the way up. You release your hands and you step to the front of your mat. Just noticing how you feel. Okay. So we're going to come into balancing. If you need to hold onto a chair or to the wall, then feel free. I'm going to try and mirror you, which probably means I mess up, but let's see. We're going to firm up into the left leg. So you spread your toes. And then bring your right knee into your hand. Just relaxing in the ankle for now. Relax the shoulders, open chest, and count. Eyes gently focused on one point, your drishti. Take a full breath in. And as you exhale, take your knee out to the right. Hip opening balance. Stay with the breath. Doesn't matter if you come in and out. Stay very, very close. Bring your knee back to the front and keep it lifted as you bring your right hand to your hip. Now flex the toes of the right foot and inhale. And as you exhale, gently float the foot down with a little shake. Let's do that to the other side, and then we're going to take another variation. So now you're firming up your right leg, spreading the toes. Bring your left knee into your hand. Just relax in the ankle, relax the shoulders, open the chest, and breathe. Is your face soft? Are you breathing freely? At some point, take your left knee out to the side. Stay close. Bring your knee back to the front, bring your hand back to your hip, flex the foot. You feel a bit more bounce in that leg, inhale. And exhale, gently float the foot down. Have a little shake. So you could repeat that. If you find that really challenging, just do that again. I know some of these poses aren't our favourites. That's partly why I'm doing them. But you might want to try this instead. So I'm just going to demonstrate. You lift your knee in the same way, but maybe you reach for your big toe. Sometimes I need to balance with this arm. I draw the lifted hip back a bit, and from there's more space to open the leg out to the front, really pushing through the ball of the foot, and then you can also bring it out to the side. It's absolutely fine to do that with a bent knee. Remember, this class today is about the breath, it's not about the poses per se. So have a bit of fun. I'm not going to talk you through it, I'm going to leave you to decide what you're doing. But remember to come back to the breath. Great, Hayley. And notice what happens in this pose, what happens to you. Are you someone who automatically looks at the person who's doing it best in the room and berate yourself for not being like them? Or are you completely absorbed in your own breath and your own body? Stay with the breath. It's very easy to stop breathing when we balance. Remember, it's a breathing practice. Okay, there's enough people in the room who've stopped completely. Everyone at home is still being very obedient and doing lots of balancing, but I think it's time to have a bit of a shake. A bit of jump, shake out your wrists, your ankles. Might want to flap from side to side, whatever feels good, just to flick away the tension from all that focus, all that balancing. Beautiful. Okay, and now moving any bricks away, please come to the front of your mat. Bring your hands to your feet. Take a moment, maybe eyes closed, just to feel the earth through your feet. Feel the space around your body. And breathing and lift your hands together now up. And as you breathe out, fold down, bringing your hands down the midline. Until you drop your fingers to the floor or anywhere on your legs. Inhale to flat back. And exhale, step back to downward dog. And you have a choice. You could drop straight into a wide knee child's pose. You could take a few breaths in downward dog. Or some of you might fancy a vinyasa. And that means you come to plank. The meaning of vinyasa is just movement with breath. But in this vinyasa, we move through a version of the Sun Salutation with the breath. Coming back to downward dog. And in a few breaths time, if you're not there already, drop your knees wide apart, big toes together. And settle into a delicious wide knee child's pose. Making sure your forehead is resting on something as you soften into the whole body now. Again, conscious of the breath, not necessarily counting, but conscious of the breath. Can you let everything go now as you drop a little bit deeper into your own stillness? breathe, and observe. And then gently come up, please, and extend your right leg and bend your left. So I'm just looking around the room. Everyone looks fine. If you find that you're a bit like this and kind of slumping and it's just very uncomfortable to sit and you can't feel your sitting bones, two things you can do. One is to sit up on a blanket or a cushion. The other is to bring a bend into that right knee. And the first thing I'd like you to do, whichever version you've taken for all of that, is to drop into both hips. Do you really feel the connection with the sitting bones and the floor? Lovely. And then you inhale and bring that brightness into your torso, and exhale, rotate around to the right, taking a hand around each hand around the leg. So it's a hand on either side of the leg. Lovely. So you're looking towards your right toes. Take a full breath in and lengthen out up and out of the pelvis. And some of you will stay here on the exhale and others of you will creep forwards. There'll be some of you who hold onto the foot. There'll be some of you who bind and hold onto the wrist. But I'd like you to consciously drop in that left shoulder because there's a tendency to lift it. And whichever version you've come into now, begin to count 5 breaths and consciously extend the exhalations as we slow things down towards the end of the physical practice. Keep dropping that left shoulder. Taking a full breath in and a long breath out. And then consciously bringing yourself up, a little bit of engagement in your abdomen to come up. So do you feel how that pose gives you a different experience? It's like something changes. Forward folds are very introverted poses. We're turning in after quite a lot of strong outward facing poses. We're going to bring this into Parivrita Janushirshasana, which is a side bend with the legs in the same position. Some of you could place a brick inside the right leg. Some of you might reach the big toe. But I'd like you to bring your left hand to the hip. And wherever you are with the right side of the body, I want you to spin around to the left. So we're opening the chest, we're opening the torso, and what we're going to come into is no longer a forward fold, it's a side bend. So you can sweep up your left arm and use the weight of it to bring you down to the right. So just to give you an idea, some people, and I'm not one of them, can hold the foot with both hands without dropping that shoulder forwards. Some people might find it easier to have the hand behind the head, or you could just slide the arm along. And look under your left armpit, because this will help keep the side bend rather than the forward fold going. And drop it into that left hip, and now breathe. Enjoy that expansion into the left side of the body. Looking really good. Take a full breath in and a long breath out. And you could bring your raised hand and take it to the floor in front of you and gently come up. And then please swing your right leg over the top of your left leg. So we're coming into a twist. Some of you will need to lengthen the left leg out long. if you can't feel both sitting bones. And then you wrap the left elbow around the front knee and draw the knee into the chest. Lovely. And then lift up the right arm. Beautiful. Find length in that right side of the body. Inhale. And then begin to rotate slowly on the exhale. Take your hand to the floor behind you or to a brick. And your hand doesn't need to be right up against your body. It could be at an angle out to the back. And look over your right shoulder. And keep dropping into the lower body as you bring the upper body into this twist. Breathe it. You soften the face. Take a full breath in and a long breath out. And then gently look round to the front. And slowly release out of the pose to start your Janushirshasana with the left leg extended. Beautiful. So adjust yourselves with blankets or bent knees, however you need to. Breathe in as you fill up the torso, and as you breathe out, look over the left leg. Really dropping into the sitting bones, dropping into the hips. Inhale one more time for length. And then either stay still or creep your way forwards, maybe reaching for the front foot, but not necessarily so. And now you need to drop into the right shoulder, drop it down. And count into your breath. Exhales become longer. Taking a full breath in and a long breath out. And then gently, a little bit of abdominal strength to bring you up. We come into the side bend version. So remember, you could have a brick inside the left knee. You might be holding onto your big toe. Right hand is to your hip. As you begin to twist around, spin around to the right, really feel the chest, the abdomen spinning. Then maybe lift up the arm, find the length. And either reach all the way over to your foot, hand to the back of the head, or simply arm by the ear. And keep dropping into that right hip as you breathe into the right side body. Some of you are coming forwards as if it's a forward fold. Keep spinning around to the right to bring it into the side body. Beautiful, and breathe. Keep dropping, keep softening. Take a full breath in and a long breath out. You can drop that raised hand to the floor to gently bring you up. And then bring the left leg over the right for your twist, your Ardha Matsyendrasana, your half Lord of the Fishes pose. Right leg could be extended if you're not able to feel both sitting bones. Wrap the right elbow around the front knee and draw it in. Lifting up the left arm. Find length, inhale. And then begin to rotate, that's right, to the left, to the left. Your hand will come behind you. Maybe you're looking over your left shoulder. And count into your breath. Can you keep dropping into the left hip? Keep dropping it towards the floor. Yes. Oh, it's so good when I say something, then I can see it in your bodies. Take a full breath in and a long breath out. Gently come back to the front. And our final physical pose is Upavista Konasana, wide-angled forward fold. Legs as wide apart as they'll go. You could be sitting up on something, especially if you've got any lower back pain. Or you could be bending your knees. We've already done this standing. It's the same, really. If your legs are straight, flex your toes towards you. So you're really engaging all the leg muscles. Root down through the hips and the sitting bones and breathe in, feel the whole of the brightness of the torso. And either stay here or come down a little in front or maybe a lot. Try to keep working your legs for this version. And imagine almost that your sitting bones are separating and sliding out behind you. See how that helps you come a bit deeper, and now count. Soft in the face, soft at the back of your heart. Try encouraging the little toe edge of your foot back towards the hips. See how that affects your experience of the pose. Just a subtle instruction. Please take a full breath in and a long breath out. And then very gently bring yourself back up. Slip your fingers behind your knees to bring your legs in front of you. And we'll just rinse through the pelvis with a little bit of windshield wiper. And if you take your hands behind you, and your feet could be quite wide apart as you just allow your knees to fall to one side, your head to the other. And then come back. It's a lazy, lazy Sunday afternoon. So we're bringing a little rotation into the spine, gentle movement into the hips and pelvis. When I do this, I start shunting forwards. I don't know if anyone else does. Okay, my lovelies. So we have time to grab the chairs again if you want, and you just come back. Unless you want to do something else, we've got 6 minutes. You might have something else you want to do, or you could come back to how we started, which actually is an inversion. So it is a gentle, this is a version of a very, very gentle shoulder stand in a way. If you're longing to do a shoulder stand, Rosie. I always feel like I've failed you when I don't bring a shoulder stand into the class. But this feels pretty good, actually. It'll allow the back of your pelvis to really settle, to trust you again after all the shenanigans you've put it through. Make sure you're warm enough. And what I'm just going to share with you what I'm feeling, and you might not be, is that when I rest here, I can feel the weight and the density of my sacrum, so I can feel the back of my body, and that feels safe. But my legs are quite trembly. It's like my muscles around the inner thighs and the hips don't want to let go, and that is why a relaxation is so important. So just check in with yourself what you're feeling now. And I'm going to actually leave you in silence for 5 minutes, not to control anything, but to observe your breath, to observe sensation, or just to daydream. Daydreaming's brilliant. And stay very, very close so you don't miss anything. I'm going to read you a short poem called Kinship by Ursula Le Guin. Very slowly burning, the big forest tree stands in the slight hollow of the snow, melted around it by the mild, long heat of its being and its will to be root, trunk, branch, leaf, and no earth dark, sunlight, wind touch, bird song. Rootless and restless and warm-blooded, we blaze in the flare that blinds us to that slow, tall, fraternal fire of life, as strong now as in the seedling 2 centuries ago. Beginning now to take a few slightly deeper breaths. So you begin to feel the rise and fall of your abdomen with the breath. And you might like to roll your head gently from side to side. Maybe lick your lips. Maybe rub your hands together quite vigorously to cup that warmth over your eyes. You can choose whatever gentle movements of transition work for you as we come to the end of this practice.